Ryan here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Percussion style hard melodic techno track. We're going to be not just talking about the elements, but also a little bit about arrangement today, with sort of like building up and dropping it really hard. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything that you just heard from this video is available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp for just $5. This really helps support me. If you guys enjoy this video, so definitely go grab that, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're at 144 BPM. Right off the bat, you can see up here, we have a drum group. Now, usually, I would not put all the drums in a group. Usually, I would honestly just have like my hi-hats and my percussion either in separate groups or just not grouped at all. And then I would have the kick and the bass kind of as its own thing. But here, we are actually doing a little bit of grouping, and I'll explain that in a second. First, I'll just show you the elements. Now, first thing here is the kick. And this is, right off the bat, as you can hear, it's got a little bit more texture to it. It's not quite just like a rumble. It is a rumble kick, but there's a little bit more on top of it. And that comes in the form of this acoustic tom. So what's happening is we've got our kick. You can see it's just being saturated a little bit. Got the dry wet there. Usually I wouldn't do this these days, but with this style, I was trying to make it a little bit harder. More like the like slumo kicks and like that kind of sound. Because they're not just like that clean, like super punchy kick. Like, actually, I think these people are using a bit more saturation and kind of like crunching their kicks up. So we've got that. You can see I tried drum bus. That didn't work out. But then we've got the bass line, which is just that same kick, just doing 16th notes, low passed, side chained, and then it's just being EQ'd. And that cut at 100 hertz. I used to do this a lot more, but it's really good if you're doing something like this where you're using like two kicks, because 100 hertz is typically where this kick is going to be like the most powerful. But then this one, you really just kind of want below that. So you can just cut that, and then it's going to make a bunch of room. And you could even do like a tighter cue. But yeah, and then the third layer there is the acoustic tom. And so this is the secret to this kick, is that it's got this thing. Now, it doesn't always have to be this. I listened to a lot of these tracks, and this is what, like, really just from listening, it sounded most like to me. Like, it really just sounded like a nice low acoustic tom like this. But I believe there's other ways to make this. I mean, you know, you could literally just sample a loop from like an old hard techno record, get some interesting stuff that way. You could use a sample pack loop. You could use noise and make like a type of sound. But this is the way I've done it here, and I think it gives you the most texture, because different toms are going to have different feels to them, and ultimately, you're going to be able to make a lot of different things. Like, I have another one in here, and I'll show you, like, if we drag that in, you get a whole different texture, and that's cool too. So again, like, you can just try a lot of different ones, but it's a great way to get like a lot of different textures. And then all you gotta do is it's just being sidechained, and then I have this being EQ'd. So we're gonna cut out all the bass. You don't want any bass coming from this. I have done that before, but in this kick, really like, you don't want the bass coming from this. This is just like a nice crunchy layer on top. And then we're also cutting off a little bit of the highs, because if I get rid of that, see, it's a little bit too like bright. So that just keeps it kind of under control. And then on the kick group, we just have actually a little bit of drum bus, which you can see is being blended. So there's without. And then with it, so it's more like a layer rather than like just crunching the whole thing. But adding this crunchy layer on top, as you can hear, just gives it that last little push. I mean, with this harder techno, it doesn't need to be as clean, you know? This is like hard rave warehouse techno. So like, you can saturate your kick and bass, and it's fine. And like, I think it'll create more interesting textures and make your tracks more unique. Because I think if everybody made tracks like this where it was like no saturation, like we literally got rid of this too. Although, of course, yeah, that's got like that clean punch to it. This just feels more hard techno to me and more interesting. And then the only other things here are just these filters, which are just for the transition. Now, the kick is going to be an important part of this break over here. Like, if you want to have something like this, and then have it, you need some drums over here. So right off the bat, just having the high pass and then the low pass, so you can kind of see as the high pass goes up there, the low pass just kind of makes it disappear. And that's an important detail. If you don't have the low pass, so you just have like this at the end over top. But if you use the low pass, now it's high passing and low passing at once. So you're kind of just making it essentially disappear. So it's super smooth this way. Then after that we have our percussion, which you can see this is all just going through a high end boost. I also have a low pass filter making that kind of go away. And then we got some reverb as well, which automates there for that transition. So it's kind of a simple way to make it transition really smoothly. But yeah. Then for the actual percussion in here, it's pretty simple. We have this rave loop. Same like classic. You just want to bring in like this more live sounding loop like this to give it more texture and more life. Because if you only use like program percussion like that, it's going to feel very dry. You need that groove. And then the secret to this little rave loop is obviously it's playing in this break and then it comes here. But what you'll notice is see how each of these quarter notes, the ones I'm highlighting right now, are separated from the rest of the track or from the rest of the clip. So what I've done is I'll play you the original loop. So if you look at this waveform here, see how like those like that little kind of like tap kick and the snare are kind of like the loudest things in there. The problem with that is that if you then try to take that and turn it up loud, what's gonna happen? Like if I just drag that in, see how if we turn that up a bit, we really still just get more of the kick and the snare than we do the actual like percussion. So that's why I just went in. It might take a little bit of time if you're not as quick with it, but it's a pretty easy thing to do. And then you just kind of get like, now it's all even, and you can turn this up and really just get like those groovy percussions like these that I'm highlighting now, and not have the like kind of cutting through so much. And then underneath that, it's just 909 hi-hat with a shaker on top for some high end. And then we have a little 16th note shaker. You can see that's got velocity set. And then, yeah, so then what we've got under here is this little rave loop, which is the same one as you're seeing up there. It's the exact same thing if I reverse it. Same one. But yeah, we just have this cool little like reverse transition. Basically what you do is you just drop it. So you take everything out, and then you have one bar before it drops, and you save this quarter note right here, that beat, and then it just hits on the 2 with those reverses. And it's just like a really nice transition. I've heard that in a ton of these style of tracks. I think Punk Kunstler does that a lot as well. But anyway, so what we've got on the drum group here. So like I was saying at the beginning, never do this. Why did I do this here? Essentially, it was kind of what I was talking about with the kick. Again, like we want things to be a little bit more crunchy, a little bit more ravey. This is like hard techno at the end of the day. So it's okay to let your drums be a little bit crunchy. And if you can put like just a little bit of saturation like this on the whole group of them, what can happen is basically you have like the kick pushing through. And essentially the way distortion works is like if you have something that's a lot louder than, like let's say your bass is a lot louder than your high end, and then those just go into the saturation, essentially it's going to kind of like crunch those together because the bass is pushing it so hard. And so that's kind of what we're doing here. And it just adds this really nice like texture layer. So here's without it. So you can hear everything individually. It's fine. But it's not really got like that overall kind of glue. But then we turn this on. And it adds that. And again, like you can see, it's very subtle. It's only on 25%. And this is still like not even that high. You can see, you don't want too much of this. If you just turn the dry wet all the way up, like that's not good, but just blending it, just think of it as a layer. And yeah, so then the next thing we have down here is going to be this bass. So what's happening is it's a very simple chord progression, right? It's just F sharp, A, and then G. But what we're doing is I basically started with these just straight 16th notes, and then like some of the notes I've just jumped up and down a few octaves. Like here, like I have, you can see at the end of every half note basically, it goes down an octave. Up here, this is actually just one note up from the root, but you can hear this kind of interesting grooves happening. Like you get that like that kind of stuff. So when you're making this, you want to start with the like the 16th notes, and then you kind of like move some of them up and down, and it's all going to depend on the groove. You don't want to do this randomly. You want to kind of like create a little rhythm that's catchy and kind of makes you bob your head a little bit. Now for the sound on this one, this is actually a pretty simple wavetable patch. You can see it's just 2 saw waves. And then what I've done here is I've got them detuned. And you can see I'm actually automating the detune in here, just to make things a little bit like more dark and crazy sounding in the break and kind of make it build up a little bit. And I also have the low pass filter building up there. And then the last thing inside of wavetable here is just the unison. It's on the shimmer setting, so just kind of gives you a little bit of different flavor. And then I just have this sidechain to the kick. It's got a high pass filter on it because you really don't want this to be getting in the way of the actual bass. Like this is a bass, but it's really just under there to kind of give some movement in the low end, I guess you could say, or to sort of like add some more rhythm and make it feel a little bit more full. Because like if we get rid of this, you can see now all of a sudden it feels like we're in like the intro, right? For some reason with these types of tracks, even though we have plenty of bass, plenty of stuff going on here, we still tend to need something like this. Just following that chord progression. So that's kind of how you want to think about this, is that we're high passing it so that it's a bass, but it's really just like in the low mid-range and the mid-range. Then we have this EQ. This is just cutting some space. I'm boosting the highs a little bit. I also cut here because one thing that you may be asking yourself is, well, why do you have this and then this bass kind of doing a similar thing? When they clash, that's the point of this. This kind of makes it fit in a little bit better, so you can still hear those individually. And then finally, I just have this reverb for the break that just makes it disappear. Then we have the lead. So this is pretty much just using like very simple notes within this sort of like dark G minor type of scale. I'm not going to say it's exactly G minor, but it's kind of like that sort of like feel where we've got, yeah, you can see just G sharp an octave up, A, B, so you can see like very simple melody, but it just fits really well with that chord progression. And this is just a wavetable patch as well. It's just 2 saw waves, I believe. Yeah, one's an octave up, and you can see they're also detuned a little bit. I've got a low pass which has this envelope on it, and I believe what I've done, yeah, so you can see it's also got an LFO just kind of moving that around a little bit. We've got this unison on the noise setting. And then we just have a bit of echo, some reverb. I'm blending in this amp. This is a really nice technique to kind of give it more texture and give it more of that like aggressive feel. If I turn this off, you can see it's not on that much. It's only at 10%. But then now, we get this really nice texture to our lead that you can't really get just out of the synth. Like, the thing about making these kinds of leads is it's very easy to make the same lead over and over because you're just using saw waves and square waves and unison and filters. Like, you know, a lot of those sounds can be made the same way over and over, and it can get kind of boring. But this way, you can add a different texture to saw waves without just messing the whole thing up. Because if you just turn this all the way up, Obviously, you don't want that, but that as a layer can be really nice. And then I just have a high pass filter, compressor, side chaining it to the kick, and then this is that exact same reverb as the bass. I'm pretty sure I just copied the automation even. And yeah, then we have this wavetable pad, which is really just in the break. Just kind of filling it out, because if I get rid of this feels kind of empty, right? Like this is just kind of like giving you something dark and melodic over top of that. And the key to this is it's all just notes that are in the same key as the bass line, but it's not just following that. Say for here, actually, where it does start on F sharp. But then, that's the thing. You start with that, so you kind of make it feel like it's just following the bass line. And then all of a sudden over here, we're doing the 5th and the 6th. When this is like not doing that, like that's the minor third. And then that's just a G thrown in there. So it's kind of like, you start like this. It seems like it's going to be really predictable, and then you get here, and it's very different. But still, obviously, blending very well musically. And that's kind of how this works. And that's the idea behind this. Because, like, if you just have this just play exactly what that's doing, you can. I think this is going to make it stand out a little bit more, and it's these little things like this that are going to make your track a lot better. And then here, it just holds out F sharp, you know, and kind of disappears. And then the synth on this one is really simple. It's just a saw wave, low pass filter, kind of disappearing there, you can see. And then we have the noise unison, a reverb, which is just starts there. So you're hearing it the whole time, but then here it just makes it kind of like wash out. We have a high pass filter, and then we have this one, which is... It's kind of the same idea I was showing you with the kick, where it's like we're low passing and high passing at the same time, so it kind of just like sweeps in and makes the synth disappear. It's a really nice way, because like a lot of times, you know, if you just do the low pass filter or you just do the high pass filter, you're still going to have, in the case of the low pass filter, a bunch of low end in your track. If you do the high pass filter, you're still going to have that like high end, so it's not really going to disappear. This way, it's like you don't even notice it's happening because it's so smooth, and it's a very easy thing to do. It's like all of a sudden it's just gone. And yeah, so then the last thing down here is just this vocal. And this is actually one of mine from my Definitive Techno vocal sample pack. I'll put the link to that in the description. But yeah, so this was just like a vocal that I had. I just dropped it in there. This is really more about the arrangement. I just wanted to show you, like, you know, typically the vocals are going to be pretty sparse in this type of track. But if you can just have something catchy right before the drop there. Especially like with that rave loop, like it's very hype, you know, it makes you want to like. So yeah, we just got that on there. And yeah, so that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets. Everything from this video is available right at the top of the description for just $5 on my Bandcamp. This is a great way to get a really solid template. You know, you can make a whole track out of this, turn it into your own thing, use it as a template for multiple tracks, or you can even just take the samples and the MIDI and the presets and make something cool yourself. But it's a great way to get a really nice production resource, and it also really helps support me. If you guys enjoy these videos, definitely go grab that. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.